After dying in a sudden accident, Kim Yo-han was reincarnated as the son of a prestigious family. Despite being born into a noble family, Yo-han found himself at the lowest rung of the family hierarchy. To make matters worse, this world revolved around a ruthless medieval society. The only one you could trust here was yourself. In a world dominated by the law of the strong, survival could be determined by just two things: money and power. While training relentlessly, using the knowledge gained from his modern life, Yo-han stumbled upon Kago, the poison master of the greatest assassination guild, the Nexus Empire Guild. And from here, the real fun officially began. He went from someone who could live a peaceful life to prey hunted by the entire world. Above all, Yo-han also had to struggle to find a way to escape his family's control. Thus, he became a wandering survivor in this strange and shattered world. All right, let's dive into the main story. This world is where the strong hold power and the weak must yield. A deer grazes nonchalantly, unaware that someone is aiming for it. Look, there's prey over there, young hunter. Draw your bow, just as I instructed. Remember what you've learned. He tried to stay calm, but his hands trembled with worry. Still, he tightly gripped the arrow and shot. The moment the signal was given, the forest birds were startled and flew away. That bewildered deer let out a long bleat of surprise, then spun around and dashed away. There wasn't a single scratch on its body. It turned out the arrow wasn't shot at all. It had merely snapped, causing Joseph to cry out in dismay. "Johann, I told you to catch the prey, so who told you to smash the bow?" Johann scratched his head, blaming the bow's quality. "This thing breaks too easily. Or maybe it's because the bow is ancient, huh?" He wailed loudly. "What nonsense are you spouting? It was just bought last week, practically brand new. Ever since you insisted on learning to hunt, I've had a bad feeling about this. You're a nobleman, for goodness sake. Why do you suddenly want to be a hunter?" Joseph sighed, lecturing him endlessly. Johann felt speechless, thinking he'd rather study swordsmanship. Even so, his eyes darkened, full of contemplation. He thought, before I get a job, how am I supposed to earn any money? That's right. Money. He nodded in agreement. Exactly, he chuckled, brushing off the topic. It's nothing, really. Come on, let's go somewhere else right now. The scene of a remote, dilapidated village flashed before his eyes. Johann needed money and a vast field to embody the saying, to survive in this world. His real name was Kim Johann. And after an unexpected accident, he died and was reborn in this world. Being reborn as a noble is nice and all, but right now, Johann is at the very bottom of his family's hierarchy. Inherit a title or assets. Don't even dream of it. Not getting dragged into his brother's power struggles, and then being kicked out onto the streets, penniless, would already be a huge stroke of luck. But Johann's biggest problem was, wait, he saw a pack of wolves surrounding something. What are they fighting over? Is that a pack of old wolves? Right after, an arrow shot forth, embedding itself into a tree trunk and startling them. The entire pack of wolves scattered in a panic, and the one who shot the arrow was Joseph. Johann looked down at the spot where the wolves had gathered, thinking to himself, the world he was reborn into was a medieval era, but it's brutally realistic. Seriously, he died and still can't get any peace? He looked at the man, neither happy nor sad, and asked if he was from their village. Joseph sighed and shook his head, saying, "It's hard to say. We can't know for sure, but one thing is for certain. The weak are merely food for the strong." Johann clenched his hands, an indescribable yearning bubbling within him. That's right, to avoid becoming prey in this era. Panic began to clearly show on his face. His eyes seemed to say it all. I need to have money. When he first arrived in this world, Johann had hoped he'd awaken some superpower, but when he found out there was nothing, Johann changed his goal. The image of a gold coin said it all. That's right, money. With money, I can leave this territory and do anything. I can become a free merchant or farmer. That's right, money, money, and more money. Money is everything, so I have to grab it at all costs. Without paying much attention to him, the old man noticed something. Look at this, Johann. This is the little demon herb I told you about earlier. This herb is very precious. As soon as he heard that, Johann immediately plucked it. It must be really valuable, right? Seeing that face, practically screaming, "Money!" left the old man speechless. Suddenly, Joseph noticed a bag by Johann's foot and asked curiously, "Johann, it looks like you dropped something." He shook his head, denying it. "Huh? Not me. Someone else must have dropped it." The old man, confused, reminded him, how could that be? Besides us, who else would dare to venture this deep?" As he said this, a chill shot straight down Joseph's spine. Wait. Could it be? Just as expected, a desperate scream immediately echoed nearby. The two quickly ran towards the cry for help as fast as they could. "Help me! Is anyone there?" Upon arrival, both gaped in astonishment, realizing it was a little girl being attacked by a pack of nearly 10 wolves. "Please, Save me!" Both recognized the child as Robert's daughter. Good heavens! How did a child wander so deep into the forest? The wild wolves were all waiting for a chance to snatch the girl. Witnessing this scene, Joseph immediately turned his head and demanded, "There are too many wolves. Just the two of us won't be enough. We need to retreat and call for reinforcements." However, Johann didn't agree. He charged forward with a carefree expression. Joseph immediately yelled to stop him. "Johann, it's too dangerous. These aren't ordinary wolves. They're man-hunting beasts." Johann turned back and assured him, "Don't worry, Joseph. I'll distract them. You use this chance to save her." Though utterly flabbergasted, Joseph could do nothing but obey him. While Joseph was gaping in shock, Johann flashed an unbelievably sinister smile. He volunteered to be bait just to save a commoner? In reality, all he could think about was money. He regretted not learning to hunt earlier. Who knew there'd be a hidden gold mine in a place like this? 1, 2, 3, 4... At least 10 of them, right? Skin them, sell them, and I'll be set for life. Just you wait, my walking cash cows. Joseph was utterly shocked by Johann's bizarre antics. What on earth? He's flailing his sword around like a show-off. Joseph couldn't help but exclaim. What kind of chaotic swordsmanship is that? The aggressive, hungry wolves fearlessly charged, leaping swiftly across the ground, sending leaves scattering into the air. Seeing this, Johann instinctively raised his sword to block the attack. The wolf bared its fangs and bit hard into the sword, which, being ancient and worn, immediately cracked and splintered. In a flash, the sword was almost completely twisted out of shape, and then it shattered right before his astonished eyes. From the other side, another wolf lunged, its massive mouth agape, aiming for a finishing blow. And then, for a brief moment, time itself seemed to stop. Joseph, watching from afar, was horrified, his eyes wide with fear. He let out a shout that echoed to the heavens. "Sir Johann!" At the same time, in S territory, within Bantron village, the S family's inspection team was conducting a thorough check. Wherever the sound of their horses' hooves reached, fear spread among the populace. Even the most seasoned elders in the village had to cower in fear. That woman, holding a fan to cover her nose, looked on haughtily. Glancing at everyone, there was the concubine, Madame S., and the young man on horseback, utterly expressionless. "This is the eldest son, Philip S., and that old drunkard is Lord Jackson S." He disparaged them. "This cursed backwater village is as filthy and foul-smelling as ever." Philip hadn't found the person he was looking for, so he had no choice but to ask Jackson for advice. "Father, I apologize, but Johann seems to be nowhere to be found. He dared to run away in the middle of an inspection? Should I send soldiers to look for him?" Before answering, he took a deep gulp, then chuckled with amusement. Jackson waved his hand dismissively. "Forget it! Why bother looking for that madman? Just leave him be. Let him wander like some stray pig, for all I care. He's practically asking for a good taunting." Suddenly, he spotted something that was quite an eyesore, something that caught Jackson's eye, a colossal pile of firewood in the corner of the village. Feeling a bit curious, he stopped and asked, "What is this? Why on earth is there a pile of firewood at the village gate?" One of the villagers spoke up. "My apologies, Lord. These are the traces of Sir Johann's training. It was a bit unsightly, so I covered it." Hearing that, Jackson immediately burst into sarcastic laughter. "Training, you say? A tiny worm like you dares to train." However, when the pile of wood crashed down, his eyes turned from blank to dark. It was a clear fist imprint on the tree trunk, sharp and incredibly deep. Not just one, but many such tree trunks were scattered about, making Jackson exclaim in horror, "What the heck is this?" Back to reality, a wolf had successfully pinned Johann down. But what awaited it wasn't a surge of power, but utter confusion. As soon as Johann flexed his muscles, the wolf was immediately flung back. It couldn't bite him. It was flung far, even spinning a few times in the air. As expected, sword fighting really isn't for me. Well then, this time I'll fight my way. Come here, you cowardly sheep. The strong survive. The weak perish. If you don't want to be prey in this era, you must have money. To earn money, one must possess something far beyond ordinary mortals. Seeing them charge, Johann didn't hesitate to unleash a full-power punch. With just one punch from him, the wolf lay limp on the spot. Overwhelming power. This made Joseph's mouth gape wider, as the wolf took the full force of the punch, leaving its face utterly mangled. Just like that, Johann continuously unleashed punches, and no wolf could touch him a second time. Tired of punching, Johann grabbed one of them. He gently tossed it away, conveniently giving it a one-way ticket back to its childhood. Joseph, who had been watching, still couldn't close his mouth. "No way! What kind of power is this?" In just a blink, he successfully annihilated the entire pack of nearly 10 wolves. So how much gold did I rack up in total? Childhood memories flooded back. Johann had to admit that life in this place wasn't easy at all. 2 bullies mocked and physically assaulted him. "Die, you bastard! You have no mother. Yet you dare to be so defiant? He always had to endure everything. The senior brothers always bullied Johann. They flaunted their status, then cursed and mercilessly beat him. After venting their anger, they abandoned Johann and left. Go ahead and try that stunt again. I'll stomp you into the ground again. Just you watch. His eyes filled with indignation. Johann slowly realized that this world was truly so cruel. Even if he were beaten to death here, no one would even care. The only thing Johann could trust was himself. And then Johann thought, so what does it take to survive in this medieval age? Fortunately, the biggest difference between you and these medieval folks is your vast reservoir of modern knowledge. And guess what? It's all the stuff you crammed for job interviews. Consequently, Johann's brain was overflowing with information, stuff these medieval folks couldn't even dream of. He decided to fully leverage high-intensity training, all based on modern motor physiology. When a village elder inquired, "Sir Johann, why are you tossing out food like that?" Johann, mid-chew, responded, "Nonsense! This is a superfood concoction of oats, cabbage, beans, and quail eggs. I'm merely designing a balanced diet, based on modern nutrition science." Beyond just theory, Johann was applying a suitable nutrition regimen for optimal physique. Furthermore, he also practiced practical combat strikes, straight from mixed martial arts. And just like that, days of relentless training flew by. Until a few years later, Johann could almost punch through a full-grown tree. He relentlessly unleashed his full-powered fists as trees toppled one after another. Even the birds fled in terror. Johann's meticulously sculpted body gradually attained extraordinary power. He put on his coat and sighed in relief. Now he truly felt comfortable. Johann stood amidst a forest of felled trees, all without an axe. Was this a blessing from the gods, or simply another one of his trials? Time just slipped by unnoticed. Back in that dark forest, Johann dusted himself off and surveyed the scene. As dawn broke, he was the only one left standing on the stage. The entire wolf pack had already fallen, hadn't they? Meanwhile, he was helping the little girl down. "Deo, are you hurt anywhere?" "Thank goodness you're all right," Deo sobbed, calling out, "Uncle Joseph!" Joseph sat down and sighed deeply to compose himself. He scratched his head and gently said, "Sir Johann, that was an incredibly reckless act. Do you realize how dangerous that was? Yet, for a mere peasant child, you charged straight into a pack of vicious beasts without a moment's hesitation. This Joseph is truly moved by your noble actions. On behalf of the villagers, I wish to express our heartfelt gratitude to you." Joseph expected a touching response, but Johann was just playing it cool, completely ignoring him. Which one's the most valuable, I wonder? Catching a faint sound from Joseph, he startled and turned back. "What did you just say?" Joseph seemed to lose interest and fell silent. "Oh, it's nothing," Johann said. He then looked at the little girl, Diol, and asked, "Oh, your name's Diol, right? Are you okay, kid? Are you hurt?" Diol politely replied, "No, thanks to you, sir, I'm fine." "Thank you so much, sir." But then, the little girl's expression suddenly shifted from calm to horrified. Right behind them, a pair of large, terrifying eyes glowed, radiating an intense surge of killing intent. It was impossible to miss. Seeing Dale cover her face, trembling in fear, both of them turned around in bewilderment to investigate. What awaited them was a chillingly cold face with razor-sharp fangs. This wolf was 100 times larger than any other wolf they'd seen. Joseph, pale with terror, trembled and cried out, "Monster!" "Johann, you have to run right now. To defeat it, you'd need an entire army." Ignoring Joseph's frantic advice, he provocatively challenged it. "I just thought this was a normal medieval era. Turns out it's a world with monsters, huh? Hey, you little runt, are you the leader of this pack?" "Sorry about that, but I've already taken care of all your little minions." Because pelts from old-timers like you fetch a pretty penny in a wolf, upon hearing this, couldn't hold back its emotions, letting out a growl and a whine, as if it were furious. Its killing intent made Johann realize he sensed this creature considered him its prey. However, it let out an earth-shattering roar, signaling the battle was about to commence. Right after its roar, it lunged, but Johann managed to dodge. For after all, your fur is definitely more valuable than theirs. With that, Johann threw a massive clod of dirt at its face, but the wolf remained completely unfazed. A mere shake of its body sent everything flying. However, the attack had left a scratch near its eye. That was precisely what Johann was worried about. He'd completely messed up its precious fur. It won't sell at a discount, you know? The wolf grew angrier and angrier, its fangs gnashing together. It let out a long, eerie howl. The sound it emitted was unimaginably deafening, so loud that he had to cover his ears and crouch down, trying to keep his footing on the ground. Meanwhile, Joseph held her tightly, shielding the little girl. Johann was about to collapse from exhaustion, groaning. He silently wondered to himself, what on earth is going on? Johann's eyes dimmed, then extinguished completely. How long had time passed, he didn't know. However, the battle was slowly drawing to a close. One of the two had fallen, struck down by the opponent's blade. It was then that Johann startled awake from his nightmare. He clutched his head, utterly confused. What was that just now? Johann recalled the giant wolf, wondering, was that a monster? Its massive eyes and cold aura were unforgettable. Did it vanish? He glanced over, realizing Joseph and Dell had already fallen asleep. Johann looked at Dell, letting out a sigh of relief. It seemed everyone was safe, even though he didn't understand what had just happened. He had to return immediately. Before that monster reappeared, Johann hoisted them onto his shoulders, leaving behind the pile of gold he'd just earned. Oh, that treasure from those old wolves. I wanted it so badly, but I'll have to deal with it. Next time, I absolutely must borrow an ox cart. Johann simply left like that, completely unaware that the forest still held far more terrifying secrets. Late at night, the air was still, and the moon shone brightly, perfectly round. From a distance, Johann could already see their destination. The village lights are still on over there. The villagers must be looking for Dell. Though it wasn't intentional, I still ended up saving Dell. Who knows, maybe I'll get some extra points from Dad. Johann thought Jackson would say, "You defeated a whole pack of old wolves? Good job, son. I'll make you my successor." Then Philip would lament, "Father, I'm the firstborn, you know." He sighed, walking and pondering more realistic matters. It probably won't come to that, right? Still, with some luck, he might get into the Royal Guard. If so, then future concerns about livelihood. As he walked, Johann suddenly noticed something rather vague. Huh? It was a torch, burning brightly in the silent night. The House S soldiers surrounded him, leaving no escape. Johann stared at the scene, wide-eyed and open-mouthed, utterly bewildered. Huh? Just then, Philip shouted, as if reminding him, "Johann S., where did you dare go? Returning only now. You dared to run away on the very day Father went for inspection?" Remembering this now, Johann's face turned ashen. Not a drop of blood remained. That's right. Today is that day. I'm screwed. Philip cursed him relentlessly. On this side, the man slowly descended. You scoundrel who doesn't know your place. He stomped his foot down powerfully. The boy gently set the two others down. Father, there was an urgent matter, so I couldn't say another word. Jackson raised his axe. Silence! You dare to disrespect me? I'll cleave your arrogant head in two. Johann gritted his teeth, too furious to speak. He'd just escaped death, only to run into this pile of garbage. Life really is a cruel mistress, isn't it? A sly grin then spread across his face. Danger? Piffed. That's just opportunity disguised. Johann immediately launched into a tactic designed to make a grand impression. My esteemed father, I assure you, I did not intentionally miss your assessment, Father. I rescued villagers who were in distress in the forest, which is why I'm late, Father. The girl's father immediately rushed over, calling out anxiously, Deo! Oh my goodness, my child. You're safe. I've been searching for you everywhere. He hugged the little girl tightly, continuously mumbling, Thank goodness. What a miracle. Seeing this, Johann seized his chance and pressed on, clearly recounting the entire situation. Father, you see, Deo was cornered by an entire pack of wolves in the forest. I fought them off, rescued that little one, and took down those wolves, Father. Although I couldn't attend your assessment, Father, I believe I have fulfilled the duty of a son of the Knight household. If you forgive me this time, I will dedicate my all to protecting our territory. Oh, and if I were to be appointed captain of the patrol squad, that would be even better, Father. Hearing that, Philip immediately bristled, letting out an annoyed HMPH. He even thought to himself, nailed it. That was some top-notch self-promotion. If this were an interview, I'd already have the job. Thank you very much. Jackson burst out laughing, then added a sarcastic jab. Oh, is that how it is? Future captain, you say? But where's this wolf you supposedly caught? Don't tell me those are just empty words now. Johann fumed at the question, which felt like a lightning bolt to his ear. This damned old geezer! Even so, he firmly declared. I'm not lying. I even encountered a giant black wolf. Upon hearing this, almost all the villagers gaped in astonishment. Even Jackson let out a cry of pure horror. He flushed red with anger and roared, How dare you lie to me, you insolent wretch? I'll crush your lying mouth. Johann remained calm and agreed to the challenge. You mean a duel, Father? Fine. I'll prove my strength then. Deep down, however, he absolutely didn't want to. After all, he's my own father, so I really don't want to fight him. But there's no other way. I guess I have no choice. Jackson smirked with amusement. All right, let's see what a useless brat like you can do. Draw your sword, Johann. We're only fighting with swords, remember? Johann repeated the word blankly. A sword? A sword? You never taught me how to use a sword, you crazy old man. Both of them stood in the middle of the arena, with many people watching. Jason urged, Draw your sword quickly, Johann. With no other option, he reluctantly drew the broken sword. Yes, sir! Jackson sighed in exasperation, commanding, You trash, Philip. Give me a sword. Even though he didn't want to, He still had to comply. Philip approached and whispered into Johan's ear, reminding him, "If you know your fault, then kneel down and beg your father for forgiveness. That's the only way to survive, you know." He fiercely and resolutely replied, "Apologize for what? One only needs to apologize if they've committed a fault, right? Besides, a real man would never run away." "Please step aside, elder brother. Philip tried to stop me, but he just couldn't hold me back." He pointed his sword out and demanded, "Then, Father, please grace me with your guidance." Jackson, feeling utterly exasperated, pulled his hat down and scoffed disdainfully. Johan, brimming with fighting spirit, declared, "All right, then. This is the perfect opportunity to display my abilities before the villagers. Surely Jackson will have to acknowledge me. I'll show everyone my true power." He disregarded everything and charged forward, with the resolute intention that he would win. Indeed, Jackson had a fleeting moment of fear. His face was completely twisted. The sword charged forward with such a dark aura, it completely choked Jackson up. What is this? This terrifying pressure is just like a monster's. Very quickly after that, he raised his axe to block the attack. The advantage is leaning towards Jackson. Johan's sword shows a slight crack. It was grazed by fragments. Groaning in pain, Johan tried to continuously thrust attacks into the armor, causing it to shatter. Jackson lost his balance for a moment, and he fell down. Not willing to lose easily, he gritted his teeth and yelled, "You trash!" Jackson swung his axe and charged forward, seething with resentment. "Despicable worm!" Luckily, Johan managed to dodge the first strike in time. He screamed frantically, "How dare you look down on me, you worm!" Witnessing this scene, the others were almost dumbfounded. "Are you serious? Does Father really want to kill Johan?" Jackson continuously swung his axe with all his might. "Do you know why I didn't teach you swordsmanship? Because even if you learned, you'd still only be a useless worm. Do you think a few struggles will allow you to overcome me? This territory is mine. No one can steal it. Not even you, or the Emperor, or anyone else." Johan kept dodging, but the damage was still immense. He was confused. What the hell was that old man saying? Was he drunk and out of his mind? No. Rather, blood had already obscured his vision. Suddenly, a villager cried out. Johan, following the call, immediately turned his head to look behind him. Right at that moment, the axe swing was already before his eyes. He couldn't dodge it anymore. All the villagers gasped in horror. No one could even close their mouths. Johan used his last ounce of strength to block that powerful blow. Yet he didn't have enough strength to do anything else, allowing the axe to press down. And then, the outcome was obvious. His sword shattered. Johan wholeheartedly admitted his defeat. He slumped to the ground, looking at his sword with utter helplessness. Jason pointed the axe tip at him, commanding, "Know your place if you dare to annoy me again. Next time, I'll split your head in two." He left, leaving a deep pit of despair for Johan. All the villagers then ran to him, calling, "Sir Johan!" At night, in a house in the village, someone shrieked, "How despicable, Jason!" Johan stopped him. "Father Barbara, what if someone hears you talking so loudly?" Barbara didn't care, shouting even louder, "Let them hear! I am a man of the church. I fear nothing at all. Knights should uphold their honor." How could he treat? "Is this how you treat the one who saved the villagers?" He gave a saintly smile and said, "I'm fine, just surviving is a blessing." Banberger's anger still hadn't subsided. From the very beginning, that match was utterly unfair. To challenge someone while clad in full armor, it must have been the alcohol that made him lose his mind completely. Though he smiled brightly, deep down inside, Johan was still very sad about today's events. He could only sigh and acknowledge that this was reality. "I know I'm not great at swordsmanship, but I never expected to be this pathetic." Banberger put away a few medicine bottles and agreed. After all, Jackson is an experienced knight. He inherited his family's swordsmanship and has battle experience. It's only natural that you lost, like Baron Bryce from the neighboring territory. I heard he once single-handedly dealt with 300 peasants who revolted. Just imagining that, Johan couldn't help but exclaim, "One man against 300 people. Baron Bryce is truly incredible. I thought my loss was due to skill, and I assumed I could easily defeat that old drunkard, especially after fighting that giant black wolf, right?" Hearing this, Banberger suddenly realized something. He rushed over, shaking his shoulder forcefully to clarify. "Lord Johan, was what you just said true? Did you really see a giant black wolf in the forest?" Johan was perplexed by his actions, but he still conceded, "Yeah, I saw it. Joseph and Dell saw it too." Barbara, hearing this, immediately started praying to God. He startled. His curiosity piqued. "Huh, what's going on? What's so special about that wolf?" He walked to the shelf and pulled out a thick book. "Sir Johan, since ancient times, the black wolf." Banberger flipped the book open, placed it before him, and explained, "It's considered a terrible omen. The images inside also depict something metaphorical, much more terrifying." He stared intently at the illustration, explaining, "The clergy call them Death omens. According to legends spanning hundreds of years, the black wolf brings death, dyeing the land crimson with blood. Johann looked at it, his heart pounding wildly. Unable to speak, he rubbed his head, trying to piece together the implications. Even though I'm not superstitious, could the black wolf have foretold the battle with my father? Vanberger seemed to ponder this as well. Oh, perhaps so. He offered a gentle, reassuring smile. But don't worry too much. Black Wolf is just a folk legend after all. Perhaps God is protecting you, sir. He always thinks of others first. He's a good person. Hearing that, Johann's face went completely blank, utterly bewildered. All that filled his mind now was money. Me? I just want to earn a lot of money, that's all. Meanwhile, in the territory of Briss, near S City, agonizing screams echoed. Please, spare my life. I know I've made a mistake. Please, have mercy on me. Don't. A sword stained red filled the entire frame, and just like that, another life was snuffed out without a single farewell. The two guards shook their heads in resignation. Running is useless. You're going to die anyway, understand? They sighed, conceding. But this is truly ruthless, slaughtering everyone in the territory, burning them, leaving not a single trace. What else can we do? On that blood-soaked night, all the soldiers felt a pang of regret. We just need to collect our payment. Concurrently, at the palace gates, someone was delivering a report. The person bowed, handing over a token. Lord Karamap, the mercenaries have finished their cleanup. This is the signet ring of House Briss. He held the ring in his hand, meticulously examining its inner surface. Then he clenched it tightly, crushing it ruthlessly. Standing amidst the chaos, he murmured, Briss. I heard he single-handedly cut down 300 peasants. I still had some expectations for him, yet he couldn't even withstand 2 of my blows. These are merely discarded trinkets. On behalf of my emperor, I declare, Karamap, the Holy Emperor's sword proclaims, I am the one reclaiming the imperial seal. By his decree, I shall punish these disrespectful nobles. To those who are loyal, the emperor will bestow endless glory and countless treasures. Otherwise, kill 'em all, loot 'em all, burn 'em all. Charge! The mighty army surged forward as commanded. Next target. S territory. The fierce battle between Johann and the masked man raged on, with neither side willing to yield. The masked man steadily parried Johann's every blow, while Johann relentlessly unleashed his attacks. A barrage of attacks rained down, yet the masked man remained completely unharmed. He calmly continued his defense. No one knew when it happened. Johann's sword was flung backward. His helmet also flew off, soaring upwards along with the blade. Johann was then attacked by his opponent and completely overwhelmed. Shiro was flung out, sprawling on the ground. Johann's head separated from his body, rolling clumsily across the ground. From Shiro's mouth and face, blood continued to gush from his wounds. Suddenly, Johann's eyes widened in utter horror. He woke up screaming after a nightmare. Johann calmed down when he realized he was still alive. It was just a dream, right? He grumbled, holding his head wearily. The image of the black wolf from before was still etched deep into Johann's mind. Ever since he saw that black wolf, for the past few days, I've been haunted by the same nightmare. He hadn't forgotten the blue-eyed boy's warning either. Sir Johann, from ancient times, black wolves have been considered a bad omen. It is the embodiment of calamity. Johann replayed the scene of the wolf in his mind, standing before a blood-red moon, hauntingly. It snarled fiercely, spilling blood everywhere and bringing death. That's why the priest called it the harbinger of death. Thinking that, Johann reassured himself. It's just superstition, nothing more. Even Priest Vanberger said so. It's just a legend. Besides, I didn't do anything bad to that black wolf, did I? He said that, but earlier, he had quite enthusiastically attacked the wolf. That obvious fact made Johann turn deathly pale. Does throwing rocks at it even count? Ultimately, he just chose to ignore it. Whatever happens, happens. Why fret? Stop overthinking it. Just go train. Scene change. On a vast hill, Johann chose this place to train. Just then, someone arrived to bother him. Hey, you good for nothing. Those are his 2 half-brothers. They came here just to mock him, and the second-rate guy started things off. Have you completely forgotten Father's teachings? If you want to live like a pig, don't try to show off. The third-rate pockmarked guy also chimed in. Exactly! You got beaten to a pulp, yet you still dare to provoke us? You show off all day, but you can't actually do anything, can you? Even if I hit you 100 times, only your head would break. The pockmarked guy sneered contemptuously. You only managed to break that log by cheating, didn't you? The guy with the straight, 2-parted hair also chimed in with a few remarks. He definitely cheated. With a lowly background like yours, how could you possibly have any ability? What? Become the captain of the guard squad? Wake up from your dreams, you idiot. Father would never even consider you. If he ever used you, it'd only be to chop wood and then throw you to the pigs. Johann didn't utter a single word in response. He just punched the tree trunk. The very next second, Johann unleashed a powerful blow imbued with internal energy, shattering it to pieces. His two half-brothers witnessed it, jaws agape in fear. The enormous tree trunk was just like that, split in half by Johann's punch. Then he slowly turned his head back towards them. Johann cracked his knuckles threateningly. "Well now, what did you gentlemen just say? Come here for a moment." The two men, seeing that, immediately tucked tail and ran for their lives. Yet they didn't forget to hurl threats. All right, fine. I'm going. Just you wait. I'll tell Dad everything. Watching them, Johann felt nothing but helplessness and utter contempt. What a bunch of pathetic fools. How can anyone live so thoughtlessly? They barely have enough to make a living now. Yet they don't seem worried about the future at all, but he immediately snapped out of it. All right, fine. Why should I worry about them? He decided to continue his training. Suddenly, Philip's voice echoed through. "What those guys said is true," he said, walking over, deep in thought. "Father didn't give you any official position." Johann heard that, but still forced a smile. Philip simply nodded. "That's only natural, but he didn't kill me and even let me live. I suppose that's lucky enough." Philip, as if seeing through everything, asked, "Are you very disappointed?" Johann, without hiding anything, answered honestly, "There's no other way. I can only find another path to make a living." Philip continued, making Johann pause for a few seconds. "Father is afraid of you." He merely listened, not rushing to reply, his expression somewhat displeased. However, Philip wouldn't stop. He just kept prattling on. "Johann, your strength is terrifying to Father. That kind of power is a huge threat. Father only wanted an obedient son like me. But I'm different. I'll live life my own way. Father thinks that one day your power will snatch everything away from him, just like how Father overthrew Grandfather to become the Lord." Johann looked awkward. His eyes showed a hint of disappointment. How preposterous. At that moment, Philip turned back and ordered his servant, "Hey, bring that thing here." He obeyed, carrying a large bag. "Yes, my Lord Philip." The servant reached inside and pulled out something. Johann was utterly astonished at that moment. "This is Philip?" Philip placed the armor and weapons on the ground. A long sword and plain armor. They had been in the fortress for who knows how long. And women's armor too, but no other weapons. "This is what you once stole, you know." Johann, hearing the old story, felt a pang of guilt. Philip lowered his voice again, continuing to share. "Johann, I'm not like Father. I'm not foolish enough to chase away a capable person. Therefore, when I become Lord, I'll appoint you as the captain of Ace's Royal Guard from now until then. Don't be lazy with your training and don't cause any more trouble." Johann immediately shouted to defend himself. "I never actively start trouble, you know." As for Philip, he still walked away with his back turned. He didn't even bother to give a loving middle finger. Johann just stood there, watching his figure slowly disappear. He thoughtfully gazed at the items on the ground. Even now, Johann couldn't stop thinking. The armor for my dream. If I wear it, will I die like in the dream? Yet even so, I don't know why, but I believe I can overcome it and not die. Of course, there's nothing to prove. My belief is correct. In a flash, Johann had finished putting on the armor. He placed a determined hand on his chest. Whatever it is, to win, I'll need a weapon. Another day passed, just like that. The sun was slowly setting. Inside an eatery, laughter and chatter echoed. "Hey, don't say it's nonsense. It is true." The man continued to chatter on, recounting the tale of how Sir Johann killed a whopping 50 wolves. But Sir Johann said a knight isn't greedy for money. Then he threw away all the spoils from those wolves. He only drew his sword to save my daughter. How incorruptible and righteous. Isn't he the true knight? His drinking buddy chimed in. "Indeed." Well, compared to Garrison, that lecherous drunkard, Sir Johann is definitely much more of a knight. Another person added, "Seriously, how is that pig still alive? If only Sir Johann had just lopped off his head back then, it would have been so much better." "Oh, come on, Johann probably spared him. After all, he's the Lord's son." Suddenly, the old man who had just been telling the story stepped next to the person in the black cloak and extended a generous invitation. "Hey there, friend. All the drinks in this tavern tonight are on me. Drink to your heart's content." The other person asked back in a cold voice, "Why is that?" The old man happily shouted, "Of course it's because Sir Johann saved my daughter's life." The man with the headscarf looked on curiously. "Oh, by the way, who are you? I haven't seen anyone like you around here before." A dark aura emanated from around the cloaked figure, who let out a cruel laugh. Truly, a man who doesn't know his place and dares to draw a sword and insult the Lord? Do these folks here even know what fear is? Everyone who heard this instantly froze stiff. "Confused, are we?" The figure in the black cloak laughed with a sinister, wicked grin. "Your story has certainly piqued my interest. Tell me about that Johann Ace." The village was steeped in a deathly, somber silence. An eerie silence lingered. Meanwhile, Johann was heading home. His mood was quite good. Johann was still imagining countless, splendid scenarios for himself. Philip will appoint me captain of the royal guard when he ascends the throne. Finally, the path paved with flowers has come my way. However, at that very moment, something strange before him caught his eye. It was a cloaked figure, leaning against a fence. Johann wondered. Is that a drunkard? A future captain of the royal guard cannot just ignore others. Without a moment's hesitation, he cheerfully approached and started a conversation. Excuse me, old man. You could easily catch a cold sleeping out here. Where's your home? I can take you back. Strange phenomena began to occur, making Johann wary. What's this? Something suddenly feels cold. The cloaked figure swiftly took an offensive stance. Johann's pupils constricted, suddenly plummeting into a state of sheer terror. What in the blazes is happening? Night fell upon the small town. All the surrounding families had put out their lights, leaving only a blanket of darkness. Suddenly, the cloaked figure pressed a sharp object to Johann's throat, leaving him no time to react. He desperately tried to figure out the assailant's identity. Who in the world is this guy? Could it be an assassin sent by Garrison? No, that can't be right. If it were Garrison, he would have done it himself. A flurry of speculation swirled in his mind. So, someone from the brothel, madam? Is it Philip? By any chance? The more he thought, the more his deductions led him to a dead end. Blast it all. I can't for the life of me figure out who's behind this. Finally decided to speak first. What do you want? He tried to negotiate, desperately hoping for his life to be spared. Is this about money? I'll give you everything I own. Just let me go. The man in black still didn't release him. Money? I can pile up money mountains high. Hearing this, Johann's fear intensified, and his thoughts spiraled into chaos. It's not for money, then. So what does he want? The cloaked man spoke first this time. Johann, I have a few questions for you. He pressed a sharp object tightly against his neck. If your answer doesn't satisfy me, I'll pierce your throat immediately. Due to using too much force, his skin had already begun to seep. A little red syrup. Johann looked completely bewildered upon hearing the question. Huh? What are you suddenly asking? And threatening to hiss if I answer wrong again? He reassured himself. Pull yourself together, Johann. You even passed the second round of interviews for a major corporation. I must answer perfectly if I want to survive. The guy didn't wait for him to agree. All right, let's start asking then. Johann also prepared himself. Yeah, go ahead and ask. The guy looked down at his body, observing carefully. He touched his muscular arm. Your body's pretty good, actually. It's hard to believe you're related to that pig. Are you really Gason's son? Johann's face was full of question marks, letting that guy grope all over me, the one who holds my life in his hands. And he asks such a ridiculous question. Crap! How am I supposed to answer this? After thinking for a while, he hesitantly spoke up. Even from a pig's bloodline, a lion can be born, you know. The cloaked man received the answer, but said nothing more. Seeing his silence, he grew even more terrified. Why no reaction? Did I answer incorrectly? The man let out a soft breath. The very next second, he burst into laughter, leaving the boy bewildered. The man in the black cloak then continued. That answer is quite to my liking, Johann. Seeing this, he was delighted. Now, release me. Without making him wait long, the man immediately replied, No, Johann. From now on, you are mine. He understood every word, but when he put them together, he couldn't understand the man's intention. What? What the hell are you talking about? This man's name is Kago, the master of poisons of Gil, the strongest assassin group in the Nissos Empire. After countless missions, he created a unique sword art with movements like a venomous snake, so it was later known as the Viper Sword. However, he harbored a great sorrow. He couldn't find an heir. Even though he had searched throughout the entire guild, he only found a bunch of utterly unworthy scorpions. Sometimes he discovered a few individuals with potential, but that person just sat flat on the ground, panting heavily for their own honor. I'd rather die than learn your assassination techniques. He didn't hesitate to immediately grant the man's request. That stubborn one. Very well. More than 30 noble knights have died at Kago's hands. All of them chose death for honor. Kago, despairing in his search for an heir, therefore sought out the Empire's witch. An old woman's voice rang out. Lord Kago, granter of peaceful death, the heir you seek is in the tiny territory of Ace, a place no one pays attention to. He is one of the children of the lecherous, fermented drink-addicted Lord Skygoggle. Hearing the witch say that, he looked utterly unconvinced. Ace? That backwater dump? You're saying my heir is there, really? Listen, 1 gold coin is enough to buy that entire territory. You know. The witch placed her hands on the table, remaining unperturbed by the sarcastic remark. If you don't believe the prophecy, I will return your gold. Kago tapped lightly on the table. How dare I steal a witch's money? I'm terribly afraid of being cursed. Fine, I believe you. Kago, on the other hand, had accepted the witch's words, because for a man who had wasted his entire life searching for an heir like him, time was running out. Yet, even after setting foot in Ace, he was still relentlessly doubtful. Is there truly an heir in this backwater place? He walked and pondered. If I don't take a liking to you, I'll kill you without mercy. He began to introduce himself to Johann. I am Kago, The Master of Guild SOS. There's no more time for daydreaming. You must become my heir. Now, answer me. Choose death by my hand or learn my sword techniques? You may only choose one of the two. Johann gulped, carefully pondering in his mind. The very next second he shouted, I want to learn sword techniques. So how much do I need to pay you, sir? Keigo looked a bit displeased. Money? I don't accept it. Johann's eyes practically sparkled. Does he mean it's free? A Master of Guild Master level teaching. Tamey, sword techniques. And on top of that, it's free? Is this a dream? Oh no, I've hit the jackpot. He quickly spun around and clapped the master's shoulder. Why are you only just now finding me? I've been waiting for you practically my entire life. His reaction left Keigo a bit bewildered. My sword techniques are for assassination, you know. His mere act of learning will be enough to utterly humiliate you. You'll be pointed at and mocked by everyone for the rest of your life. That will truly be a stain on any knight's honor. So even with all that, you still want to learn? Those dire warnings did little to deter his resolve. Honor or disgrace? I couldn't care less, sir. Please, master, teach me. Keigo stared at him, bewildered. Huh, he really is quite the oddball, isn't he? Johann suddenly reached out towards him. Oh, master, you mentioned having piles of money like mountains. So if I study hard, could you perhaps spare a little pocket money for me? Keigo didn't immediately agree, eyeing the scamp standing before him with suspicion. This rascal really is unlike anyone else in the S territory. Jackson mounted his horse, ready to depart the castle. The inspection is complete. I'll be stepping out for a short while. The two attendants behind him saw him off to the gate, not forgetting to offer a polite reminder. Yes, sir. Please travel safely, they chorused. We shall guard the city diligently. Immediately, Philip and Madame exchanged gazes filled with sheer envy. I'll go first, Madame huffed. No matter how diligently you strive, this city will always remain mine. Philip, not one to back down, retorted loudly. I am its next owner. Philip hadn't gone far before he heard the squabbling behind him. All they do is squabble all day. I'm so sick of it, I can't even stand to look. Do whatever you want, I don't care. Suddenly, Philip stepped forward to report, Father, Johann still hasn't returned. What should we do? Only then did he remember his son. Immediately after, he yelled, Philip! Philip! Don't waste my time on that useless good-for-nothing. That weakling can die in a ditch for all I care. Philip hastily tried to smooth things over. Yes, I apologize, Father. Still, he wouldn't just abandon his younger brother. Johann, where in the world are you? At the same time, in Ganson Forest S territory, Carol's voice rang out. I need to know what your skill level is. Johann, perplexed, mumbled. Pardon? Master, I apologize, but could I borrow a sword? I tend to break swords a lot. Keigo reluctantly handed the sword in his hand to the boy. In his eyes, there was still not a shred of trust for his disciple. Breaking swords? This kid's getting more and more hopeless. I don't see a single good quality in him. Maybe I should just get rid of him and be done with it. He offered another one of his own swords to the boy. Are you ready, Johann? His face was full of determination. He held out his sword, his other hand clenched into a fist. Keigo looked at that posture, utterly exasperated. That stance is terrible! Is he seriously from a knight's family? This won't do. I might just have to end him here. Johann suddenly spoke up. We don't necessarily have to use swords to fight, right? I can fight however I want, right? Keigo was gradually losing patience. Whatever you want. You can kick, use a sword, whatever. Johann burst out laughing. In that case, he immediately swung the sword in his hand. A direct attack flew towards him, and the sword in his hand immediately shattered into many pieces. In that very moment, Keigo realized his earlier doubts were utterly meaningless. His face was etched with disbelief. This guy is terrifyingly strong! Johann still didn't stop, continuing to swing his fist directly at Keigo. I managed to dodge it, but just one punch created wind pressure? If I'd been hit by that, my flesh would have been pulp, and my bones shattered for sure. This guy isn't human anymore. He's more like a lion. He carefully reached behind his back, grasping another sword tightly, but Keigo didn't hesitate. He swiftly drew his sword and attacked the boy. Johann, with a broken sword in hand, looked flustered. Hold on, what kind of ridiculous moves are those? Which direction are you even planning to attack from, master? Up, down, down, down. Before he could even figure out the attack's direction, Johann was slammed right in the mouth. He stumbled back several meters, not forgetting to cough up a few mouthfuls of bright red syrup in the process. It took a moment for Johann to painstakingly scramble back to his feet. Keigo remained still, showing no intention of helping his disciple up. I trust you merely stumbled, not lost consciousness. You are truly an extraordinary individual, unlike any I've ever encountered. Had you been born 1,000 years ago, you would undoubtedly be revered as a legendary hero by now. Johann's face flushed bright red. Thank you for your kind words, master. Keigo cut him off. Yet you possess a fatal weakness. If you continue like this, you will surely perish one day. Johann looked utterly surprised. Die for sure? What do you mean, master? His master calmly explained to his disciple, you have been unable to control your own power. Thus, that very power will be your undoing. He slowly rose, rubbing the back of his aching head. Huh? No way that's true. I didn't hit myself. I'm not some idiot. Kago, from who knows where, pulled out another pile of weapons. He then handed another sword to his disciple. So confident, are we? Try attacking once more. If you manage to break my sword this time, I shall reward you with what you desire most. Gold coins. His eyes sparkled brightly. Gold coins, you say? Johann didn't hesitate. Gripping the sword and charging towards his master, you absolutely must keep your promise, master. Kago likewise didn't hold back, immediately drawing another weapon to parry the blow. The two swords clashed with such force that sparks flew, and just like that, the sword shattered in Johann's hands once more. The shattered sword's fragments struck him, forcing a cry of agony. Johann stumbled back a few steps. A bit of bright red syrup started to trickle down his cheek. He recalled his previous attack. Darn it! This situation is exactly like when I fought Dad. The master, with his still intact sword, spoke up once more to instruct. See? You've lost your own strength. Learn some self-control, Johann. Otherwise, you'll certainly die. Johann forcefully pulled out the sword fragment that was lodged straight into his armor. The sword fragment stabbed into my heart. Did you do that on purpose, master? He sighed, admitting. Indeed, for a sword master, it's as easy as eating porridge. Johann finally felt fear. I understand now. I need to learn how to control my power. Learn to survive. In the future, I still have to be the ES security captain. Kago continued to instruct. Once you've mastered controlling your power, you'll be able to do this too. Without finishing his sentence, he immediately swung the sword sheath towards the boy who was still conserving his strength. Johann had no choice but to use all his strength, along with his now broken sword, to block. A sudden crack appeared on his armor. His face showed extreme bewilderment upon seeing the mark. He cut my armor with a sword sheath? He still held the sword sheath firmly in his hand. See, Johann, if your power is focused, even something as blunt as a sword sheath can cut through armor. If you truly master that formidable power, I wouldn't even dare imagine how strong you'd become. The sheath once again flew towards his face, but fortunately, this time he managed to dodge it. Kago concludes. The skill assessment ends here. Now, the official training commences. It's going to be extremely rigorous. You might even face death itself. Are you mentally prepared? With a face full of resolve, Johann firmly asserted. Yes, master. The next morning, in the kingdom, Johann was strolling around. Just one night of training, and his face was already covered in lumps and bumps. His own parents wouldn't have recognized that mangled mess. Johann couldn't help but recall last night. He had been mercilessly pummeled, just barely beginning to grasp the feeling of restraint. Oh, but it was so incredibly difficult. Though, at least I didn't break the sword this time. I wonder when I'll get to learn proper swordsmanship. He looked forward with a very surprised expression. Oh, hey, who are they? A group, fully equipped with iron armor and weapons, was standing before Alpha City. He stepped forward to inquire. Who are you, sir? Why are you standing before the city gate? The man waved his hand. Can't you tell it's curfew? Get out of my sight, you pest. Johann, utterly peeved, pointed a finger and retorted, Who are you to tell Commissar Scram? The man gave a sly grin. Who? Us? We're the Akita Wolves, a mercenary squad directly serving the Emperor. Johann immediately changed his attitude. A mercenary squad? I'm also looking for information to find a job myself. Oh, so you're all mercenaries? May I ask what the income for this profession is? Those guys in the Akitan squad laughed at you because of your ragged clothes, didn't they? You want to be a mercenary, kid? Our pay is a world apart from those guards. 2 gold coins for 1 contract. Johann's eyes gleamed when he heard 2 gold coins. They approached, surrounding him while he wasn't paying attention. Someone with your bulky physique will only become a target for swords. What's important is skill, you know? Johann still didn't suspect a thing. Right. His eyes sparkled, thinking he'd found a lucrative opportunity. In my entire life, I couldn't even earn a single gold coin. Yet their income far surpasses that of a guard. Should I just switch to being a mercenary? Just as they were talking, a man in golden armor approached on horseback. He sat astride his horse, looking down at Johann with disdain. Standing below, Johann immediately raised his guard. Johann gripped the sword in his hand, ready to attack. But before he could do anything, 10 swords pointed straight at his throat. Cold sweat poured down him. He couldn't understand his own actions. Why did I try to draw my sword, I wonder? The mercenary angrily cursed. You rude fellow! How dare you try to draw your sword before Lord Karamap? I'll deal with you right now. That person raised a hand, ordering, Stop! That's enough! He turned his horse around, his gaze fixed on Johann. Who are you, Johann? Before the blades of all 10 men, Johann could only gulp. He stammered nervously. Why, yes, greetings, Lord. I am Johann, son of House S. Hearing that, The man removed the hat from his head, revealing his long hair, platinum blonde. It was Karamap, the Holy Imperial Knight, and Emperor's Royal Guard. Johann bowed respectfully. He wondered why his hand had touched his sword again, even when facing the wolf, or father, or master, or anyone else who wanted to kill him. He had never felt like this before. A suffocating, overwhelming pressure. It was as if he were merely small prey before a predator, a powerful one. The sensation was like a rabbit standing before a dragon. He commanded, "Get out of my way! You're blocking me!" Someone slapped Johann hard on the back. Mercenaries also passed by him one after another. "Oh dear, what's the matter? You must be scared out of your wits now, huh? Be more careful next time, my lord." "Oh, but will there even be a next time for you?" The knight instructor respectfully followed closely behind Karamap. "Sir Karamap, may I ask, is it truly all right to let such an impudent person off?" He smiled gently. "I don't wish to cause a commotion on such a beautiful day. At least not right now." Johann remained still, watching the Emperor's knight retinue. "What are they doing in this backwater?" Someone shrieked excitedly. "What?" Sir Karamap. Hurried footsteps pounded on the ground. It was Philip, rushing out in a hurry. "Why would such a distinguished personage as yourself come to this place?" Arriving there, he breathlessly rushed to greet them. "I am Philip, Ace, the heir to the Ace territory, Sir Karamap. What brings you here, sir?" At this very moment, Madame appeared before them, flustered and fawning. "Oh my goodness. Sir Karamap is truly a magnificent specimen of a man. There's truly no one else who can compare. And this is the child who will truly become the Lord. If I had known you were this handsome, I would have gotten married much later." "Well then, please, sir, come into the city and have a meal," she urged, seeing Karamap coldly brush past. Madame quickly tried to hold him back. "Wait, Sir Karamap, are you listening to me?" Philip, witnessing the scene, couldn't help but frown in irritation. The moment Karamap sat down, he gripped his helmet, revealing a face behind it that was incredibly handsome, but no less cruel. "Where is Garrison?" Karamap's words plunged the entire room into stunned silence. Philip mustered all his courage to subtly admonish Sir Karamap. "No matter how high your status, sir, referring to Lord Garrison by his given name is quite disrespectful, if I may say so." Meanwhile, Madame, without a single brain cell firing, quickly jumped to his defense. "Nonsense. He is a knight, the Empire's supreme knight. He can be called whatever he pleases. I am the rightful hostess to entertain him." Philip gritted his teeth in bitter frustration, but merely cursed under his breath. "You scheming wretch!" Always trying to create opportunities to put her son on the Lord's throne. Karamap, having finally had enough, plunged his sword violently into the ground and roared, "It's too noisy!" And with a brazen smirk, Karamap made a truly outrageous demand. "Everyone, get out! Stop your senseless babbling. Bring me some wine!" He glared, his eyes glinting with clear, murderous intent. Then he bluntly declared, "I will wait for Garrison in the city until he returns." The scene shifts to another part of the forest, where the rhythmic clash of weapons echoed. Johann and Kago were still training tirelessly. An image of Karamap sitting on his horse suddenly flashed through his mind. Even Karamap's ruthless gaze made him increasingly difficult to comprehend the more he thought about it. Suddenly, Kago yelled, "You idiot! Focus!" Johann finally snapped back to reality, but right before his eyes was a flurry of blades flying directly towards him. Johann made a single cut to deflect their trajectory, but unfortunately, he still took a hit. Johann winced in pain, his face contorted as he looked at the bleeding wound on his neck. Kago turned around, irately questioning. "If that sword just thrown had been poisoned, you'd be dead by now. Why aren't you focusing?" Without hesitation, Johann frankly explained. "Recently, a group of Imperial Knights came to the village. Their presence felt really odd. This is House Ace's territory, after all. Even if they are Imperial Knights, for them to close the city gates and control all entry and exit like that, it's utterly preposterous." Chicago questioned, in a stern voice, "Even if he's suspicious, what can you do?" Karamap, the Emperor's personal guard knight, he is the strongest warrior of the Six Lands, a core force of the Holy Empire. Even the armor he wears is a legendary treasure. Johann couldn't help but be stunned upon hearing this. Stronger than Master, even? He paused for a few moments at the sudden question. Kago frowned and admitted, "If I were to unfortunately confront Karamap, I'd run for my life." Without daring to look back, the boy quickly retorted, "How can we know the outcome without fighting first?" So he immediately gave Johann a smack on the head, accompanied by a shout of, "Shut up, you idiot! Do you even know who you are? Just a useless nobody who can't control his own strength. An illegitimate child who knows nothing about swordsmanship yet dares to make a scene?" Johann was rendered speechless by those contemptuous words. For a moment, he pressed his lips tightly, speechless. A second later, he gripped his sword. Looking forward, he confidently declared, "I will do it." Still, the brute eyed Johann with disdain, then drawled, "All right, come on." Immediately after, the two lunged at each other. They fought a fierce battle, but before long, Johann took a direct hit from Kago. The brute roared, Again! Kago unleashed another blow, and Johann quickly raised his sword to block. As expected, Kago was too strong, leaving Johann utterly unable to dodge. Kago's blood boiled even hotter, and he furiously bellowed, "Again!" Yet, Johann refused to give up. As he leaped forward, he questioned himself. Why isn't it working? It's just a practice sheath, so why can't I cut through it? Suddenly, a flash of light, a dazzling light appeared on the tip of his sword, making Johann suddenly realize, that's it! The flow of power isn't about wildly swinging the sword. Instead, it's about guiding the force to concentrate at the tip. And so, Johann swung his sword, gradually comprehending the true meaning of power control. Even Kago slowly began to notice. This guy, Kago mused. The sound from his sword blade is getting sharper in an instant. Each razor-sharp slash was unleashed through the air. Johann attacked relentlessly, giving Kago no time to counter. He tightened his grip on the sword hilt, thinking, this is it. Everything he had learned was now put into play, with just the right amount of force. Johann swiftly raised it high, preparing for a mighty slash. His eyes blazed brightly. He looked incredibly terrifying. This sight made Kago break out in a cold sweat. Oh, this is too dangerous. Johann didn't hesitate, sweeping his sword in a single stroke. It was as if a snake wanted to swallow the weapon in his hand. Amidst the gloomy darkness, a dazzling bright line immediately appeared. Kago gritted his teeth, looking down at his scabbard and his sword, which had been decisively sliced. Seeing this, Johann excitedly smiled brightly like a flower, shouting like a child. All right, I did it. Now I've got the hang of it. Isn't it easy? He still couldn't believe it, watching Johann whistle in celebration, and thought to himself, it must have been pure luck. Kago then called out to Johann. He immediately turned and replied, yes? He drew a sword and got into an attack stance. Simultaneously, he declared, this time I won't hold back. Attack! Without the slightest hesitation, Johann once again unleashed his fierce snake, aiming right for Kago's head. He was struck by this blow. His sword broke in half, and he fell backward with a thud. Seeing this, he immediately jumped up, exclaiming, I won! I won again! Kago's eyes widened, sweat pouring ceaselessly as he asked himself, what the heck is going on? What in the world is this guy? I only taught him how to control his strength, yet now he's already mastered it. Even the snake's blade, ultimate technique. After just one meeting, he's perfectly absorbed my technique. Not only that, he even uses swordsmanship more perfectly than I do. Kago pondered for a moment, unable to believe this was real. The Master Assassin's experience told him that even if Johann had gotten lucky, he had already become an unbeatable opponent. Nisos, the Poison Blades, the Empire's most elite assassins, Guildmaster, Kago, was now flushed crimson. He glanced at Johann, who was grinning ear to ear, unable to contain his glee. I've mastered the technique now. I can finally earn a living, Kago thought to himself. That brat is truly unbelievable. By then, the full moon had reached its zenith, and Kago's voice echoed through the forest to Johann. The training ends here. I will depart at sunrise. Seeing this, Johann asked, bewildered, huh? I just barely got a feel for swordsmanship and it's already over? Kago immediately replied, you've already accomplished everything necessary in swordsmanship. All right, although I hate to admit it, you've already become stronger than me. In less than a week, no less. I just hope my swordsmanship doesn't get lost to history. Well then, live life however you please from now on. Johann turned to Kago when he heard Kago lament, you've suffered enough. Johann, confused, asked, are you truly leaving, Master? He confirmed, indeed. I've never been one to stay in a single place for long. Johann gazed at the fire ahead, then curiously added, is it because you're an assassin? Kago, sitting beside him, denied, no, it's just how I am by nature. He glanced over and asked, by the way, Master, do you know anything about Hong Chao? He seemed momentarily surprised. Hong Chao, the Black Wolf? Johann quickly affirmed, yes! He recalled the wolf under the crimson moon, then recounted, earlier, after I encountered it, I dreamt my head fell off, so when Master tried to chop off my neck, I actually thought you were Hong Chao. Kago sighed. If I were to kill you, that would be your Hong Chao. Misfortune isn't some entity that appears in a fixed shape. Before I depart, I shall lay out a few conditions. First, I'll find you a suitable weapon. With that strength, Danos steel should suffice. Johann's eyes widened in surprise as he asked, what is that? He began to tell the boy about Danos steel. This is a magic metal that only exists in ancient artifacts. Weapons made from Danos are incredibly rare. The number of them in the entire world can be counted on the fingers of one hand. After hearing that, Johann's face went blank. That must be really pricey, right? He also added, kid, you couldn't afford it even if you saved your whole life. You can't buy it, even with money. Johann wondered, then why did Master suggest Danos? He replied, I just said that for kicks. Go find whatever weapon you like. Boy frowned. Is Master holding back because he's an assassin? He retorted. No, you dummy. Do you blame everything on being an assassin? If it's a Danos weapon, you'll recognize it immediately just by looking. If you see anyone carrying it from afar, just run. Don't even think about looking back. Those who don't know their place won't live long. Trust me. Johann etched it into his mind. I'll remember that, Master. After a moment, as Master stood up, the boy asked again, Are you really leaving now, sir? Keigo cautiously repeated. Johann, engrave these words of mine deeply into your heart. Don't ever fight someone you can't beat. If you feel danger, just run away. However, if you're forced to fight, then use every trick in the book to absolutely annihilate them. Just remember these words and you won't die so easily. Don't you dare die, Johann. He watched as that person's back gradually faded into the distance. Johann recalled the advice. If there's danger, run away. If you can't run, then you must kill by any means. And you absolutely must survive. He clenched his fist, firmly saying, I will engrave it, Master. Meanwhile, in S City, night had already fallen. Madame's gentle voice rose. Is the wine to your liking, sir? Karamap scornfully scoffed. It tastes like foul urine. Just take it away. Madame smiled brightly and asked, That's expensive wine, sir. Is it not to your liking? Oh dear, what am I to do? The good wine is only in Garrison's bedroom, you see. You must be weary from your long journey. Don't trouble yourself with many thoughts. Just enter the cozy room and rest, sir. Still, he remained silent. With flushed cheeks and a seductive invitation, Madame purred, Garrison's bedroom is truly so cozy, sir. I'm sure you'll be satisfied, Your Excellency. Oh, there I go, getting all charming again. You two were quite intimate, and had a lovely time together, didn't you? Karamap didn't care in the slightest and merely barked, Begone! Madame, her face paling, then spoke, Your Excellency, we don't have much time. Therefore, please allow me to entertain Your Excellency now. Gason will be late, you see. He silently cast his gaze over, then spoke. It's rather convenient, as I'm quite bored. Fine, I suppose I'll give it a whirl. Karamap smiled with satisfaction, testing the thrill of carnage. When he saw the scene before his eyes, he couldn't help but be terrified. He had to cover his mouth with his hand. Elsewhere, Johann slowly took heavy steps forward. Johann's eyes widened in shock. What is this? A desolate scene appeared before his eyes. The village was engulfed in flames. He stood rooted to the spot. How did our village end up like this?